Hi everyone. I'm Claire from Susan's family. Today I'll teach you how to make a Feng series Kite Dream Mohair cardigan. For this electronic tutorial, you can search for susud.com on the VX mini program and check it out. This cardigan consists of 5 parts: the hem, the body, the bust piece, the sleeves, and the front bands. Start by knitting the hem and the body. Then separately knit each section of the bust piece. After connecting them, continue with the sleeves and the front bands. This garment comes in different sizes. The making method is almost identical. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific knitting technique. First, let's learn how to knit the hem. Let's look at the chart. A horizontal line in the chart represents a purl stitch. A vertical line represents a knit stitch. To make the chart look less dense, the blank squares in the chart also represent knit stitches. The stitch pattern for the hem is single ribbing, which means alternating one purl stitch with one knit stitch for the texture. Knit back and forth. On the wrong side, you need to knit the opposite stitch pattern. Below, please watch as I demonstrate the specific technique. Start by casting on. Here we use the method of alternating cable cast on, while casting on as you knit. For convenience, so everyone can see more clearly, I will demonstrate using cotton yarn. In practice, it involves knitting with a combination of several different yarns. For specific yarn, color schemes, and the circular needle size, please refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instructions. Because the stitch count is large, we use a circular needle here for knitting. Before starting to knit, let's first get familiar with the circular needle. It connects 2 straight needles together, which makes it more convenient to use. Make a slip knit with the yarn. And place it onto the needle. This stitch is a purl stitch. Hold the other end of the circular needle with your right hand. And insert it into the loop. Knit 1 knit stitch. And bring the loop back onto the left needle. Place the right needle underneath the yarn. Insert through the 2 loops. Knit 1 purl stitch. And slide the loop onto the left needle. The foundation is made by alternating 1 purl stitch with 1 knit stitch, and continue knitting downward. If the yarn tail is on top, start with a knit stitch. If the yarn tail is at the bottom, start with a purl stitch. Continue knitting until you reach the desired number of stitches. Pay attention, the number of foundation chains should be a multiple of 8 plus 1 stitch. Everyone, take a look. This is what it looks like after completing the foundation chain. Now we start with the first row below. The first stitch has a horizontal symbol, which means a purl stitch. Place the needle underneath the yarn. Knit 1 purl stitch. The second stitch has a vertical symbol, which means a knit stitch. First, wrap the yarn back underneath the right needle. Knit 1 stitch. Then purl 1 stitch. First, bring the yarn over the top of the right needle. Purl the stitch. Continue with 1 knit stitch. First, wrap the yarn back underneath the right needle. Knit the stitch. Then purl 1 stitch. This row is 1 knit stitch and 1 purl stitch alternately. Alternate between knitting and purling. Remember to yarn over before each stitch, otherwise, you'll end up with extra stitches. Continue following this pattern. Finish this row. If the last loop is too big, you can slightly tighten the starting tail. You can see that the first row is now finished. Take a look at the piece. Let's consider the side of this row facing us as the right side of the fabric. The starting tail is on the left side. Later, we can determine the right and wrong sides by the position of the tail. This way, you can distinguish between the right side and the wrong side. Now, move on to the second row. In the chart, this row starts from left to right. Since the chart shows the texture of the right side of the fabric, you need to work the stitches in reverse. Turn the piece over. Hang the yarn with your right hand. The first stitch is a purl symbol. Work the opposite stitch, which means knitting a knit stitch. The second stitch is a knit symbol. So work the opposite stitch, which means purling a purl stitch. Aside from referring to the chart, you can also follow the texture of the piece. If the next stitch looks like a V-shaped loop, knit one stitch. If it looks like a tile unit, purl one stitch. Continue alternating between knit and purl stitches. Finish this row. Now you can see that the second row has ended. Follow this method for every subsequent row. You can rely on the texture, or you can refer to the pattern chart. The exact number of rows to work is indicated in the chart. Below, I'll use this sample swatch to teach you how to count the rows. Place the right side of the piece facing you. You will see columns and columns of V-shaped loops here. One braid represents one row. Start from the bottom braid and count upwards. Count how many braids there are in this column. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 braids in this column. This means that 4 rows have been completed. The loops on the circular needle do not count as a row. Up to this point, the hem section has been explained completely. Next, we will learn how to knit the body part. Let's take a look at the finished product. The first few rows of the body need to be knitted with a pattern. Then continue with stocking stitch. The new stitch technique you will need is K2 tog, yarn over, and skpo, S2 kpo. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific knitting technique. Let's start with row 1. This row is worked on the right side. Refer to the chart and knit one stitch. Purl one stitch. Then knit one stitch. Next, work a K2 tog. This is also called a left upper cluster together. Insert the right needle from left to right. Pass through both loops at the same time. Knit one stitch. That completes the left upper cluster stitch. Check the texture below. The loop on the left is now above the loop on the right. Next, work a yarn over. Wrap the yarn tail from front to back around the right needle. This creates an extra loop on the right needle. One yarn over is now complete. Continue with one purl stitch. Pay attention, here you need to wrap the yarn around the right needle one more time. Then work the purl stitch. Otherwise, you will lose a stitch. Continue with one knit stitch. And one purl stitch. Treat these stitches as one pattern group. I'll demonstrate another group. Start with one knit stitch. One purl stitch. And one knit stitch. Then work one left upper cluster together. Move the right needle from left to right. Pass through both loops at the same time. Work one knit stitch. That completes the left upper cluster stitch. Next, work one yarn over, which means wrapping the yarn from front to back around the right needle. One yarn over is done. Continue with one purl stitch. Don't forget to yarn over. One knit stitch. And one purl stitch. Another group is completed. Continue following this method. Repeat the pattern for this group. Finish this row. Complete the last group. Work one knit stitch on the last loop. The first row is done. Now work row 2. We will work this row on the wrong side. The first stitch is a purl symbol. Work one knit stitch. Next, work one purl stitch. And one knit stitch. Then work 3 purl stitches. Continue with one knit stitch. One purl stitch and one knit stitch. A group is completed. I'll demonstrate another group. Start with one purl stitch and one knit stitch. Then work 3 purl stitches. Work one knit stitch next. One purl stitch and one knit stitch. Another group is done. Continue following this pattern. Refer to the chart. Finish this row. Row 2 is completed. Continue with row 3. Turn the fabric piece to the right side. Start with one knit stitch and one purl stitch. Then work one left upper cluster together. And one yarn over. Continue with one knit stitch. Pay attention, no yarn over here, just work the knit stitch directly. After completing, work one yarn over. Then work one spo. From now on, it will be referred to as right upper cluster. With the right needle, slip one stitch as if to knit without knitting it, then knit one stitch. Next, with the left needle, pick up the slipped stitch. Pass it over the stitch on the left and slip it off. That completes one right upper cluster stitch. Now work one purl stitch. One pattern group is now finished. I'll demonstrate another group. Start with one knit stitch and one purl stitch. Then work one left upper cluster stitch. One yarn over. One knit stitch and one yarn over. Continue with one right upper cluster stitch. With the right needle, slip one stitch from the left without knitting it. Then knit one stitch. Next, with the left needle, pick up the slipped stitch. Pass it over the stitch on the left. That completes the right upper cluster stitch. Continue with 1 purl stitch. Another group is done. Continue following these steps. Complete this row. End with 1 knit stitch. Row 3 is now completed. Now work on row 4. Flip the fabric piece to the wrong side. Work 1 knit stitch. Then 7 purl stitches. Followed by 1 knit stitch. 7 purl stitches. Continue alternately with 1 knit stitch and 7 purl stitches. Finish this row. End with 1 knit stitch. Row 4 is now completed. For row 5, refer to the chart on the right side to work the corresponding pattern. Row 6 is all purl stitches. The method is relatively simple. All required stitch techniques have been demonstrated before. Please refer to the chart and previous demonstrations by yourself. Complete these 2 rows. I will demonstrate the stitching method for row 7 with this sample swatch. Work the first 8 stitches according to the chart using the corresponding stitch techniques. After completion, work 1 S-tukpo. Move the right needle from left to right. Pick up the next 2 stitches on the left side in a knit stitch manner. At the same time, slip them without working. Then work 1 knit stitch. After finishing, use the left needle. Pick up the 2 loops that were slipped earlier. Cover the stitch on the left side and slip it. 1 S-tukpo stitch is now complete. This stitch effectively decreases 2 stitches from both sides. Continue to follow the chart for the next 7 stitches. Then work another S-tukpo. Use the right needle to slip 2 stitches from left to right without working them. Then knit 1 stitch. After completion, pick up the 2 slipped loops. Cover the stitch on the left side and slip it. The S-tukpo stitch is now complete. Next, everyone refer to the chart. Finish working this row. Row 7 is now complete. For row 8, work all stitches as purl. Finish working this row. The method for the remaining part of the body is relatively simple. For the first 19 rows, work the corresponding pattern on the right side. Work all stitches as purl on the wrong side. Starting from row 20, work in stocking stitch pattern. The number of rows to be worked varies depending on the size. All are labeled on the chart. End on the last row with the right side facing. Everyone refer to the chart and complete them. Do not cut the yarn after completion. In actual knitting, you may encounter situations where the yarn tail is not long enough, and you need to join yarn. Leave about 10 centimeters of length for both ends. Tie a simple knot. Pull tight. You can continue knitting from there. The joining yarn tail should be placed on the wrong side of the piece. No need to deal with it for now. This is the method for joining yarn. For any future situations where you need to join yarn, follow this same method. Pay attention. No matter what position you join the yarn at, make sure to secure the knot. Place it on the back side of the fabric piece. You can weave in the ends after completing the garment, following the texture on the wrong side of the swatch. Up to this point, the knitting method for the body is complete. Next, let's learn how to knit the chest pieces. Take a look at the finished product. Continue knitting upwards along the body section. Divide it into 3 parts: the left front piece, the back piece, and the right front piece. Knit each part separately. After completing them, join them together at the shoulders. Let's first learn how to knit the left front piece. I will continue demonstrating with this swatch. First, separate the front and back pieces. Count the corresponding number of stitches for the front and back pieces according to the chart. Place a marker to mark it. The marker on my sample is already placed. Have the right side of the fabric facing you. The area on the left side of the marker is the left front piece. The area on the right side of the marker is the right front piece. The middle part is the back piece. My sample has fewer stitches here, so it should not be used as a reference. Next, start knitting the first row of the left front piece. Take another circular needle and work it on the wrong side. Knit all stitches as purl stitches. Work until you reach just before the stitch marker position. Stop when you get to the marked stitch. That completes the first row. Leave the remaining loops for now. Place a marker under any chain stitch on the right side of this row, using the circular needle. This makes it convenient to count the rows. Continue working on row 2. Knit on the right side of the fabric piece. Work 1 knit stitch for each corresponding stitch. Stop when you reach just before the last 3 loops. You've now arrived at this position. Knit 1 right upper cluster to the right. Then work 1 more knit stitch. Row 2 is now completed. The method for the remaining part of the left front piece is quite simple. As you move downward, work knit stitches or double knit clusters on the right side, and purl stitches on the wrong side. This creates a slanted surface like this. After decreasing the corresponding number of stitches, work several rows of even stockinette stitch pattern without increasing or decreasing. When counting rows, start from the chain stitch, where the marker was placed. Refer to the chart, everyone. Once you finish knitting the remaining part of the left front piece, simply leave a 10 cm tail, and cut the yarn. Look everyone. This is what the completed left front piece of the swatch looks like. Next, secure the remaining loops of the left front piece. Take a longer piece of the yarn tail, thread it into a darning needle, and insert the needle into the loops on the knitting needle. Slip the loops off. And once done, remove the darning needle. Tie a loose knot with the 2 yarn tails. Up to this point, the method for knitting the left front piece is complete. Next, we will knit the back piece. Tie a loose knot with the yarn tail. For the first row, work it on the wrong side. Make sure the wrong side of the fabric is facing you. Start with 1 purl stitch. Insert the knitting needle. Slip the knotted loop off. Adjust the loop size a bit. The first stitch is done. Work 1 purl stitch for each corresponding stitch. Continue until you reach just before the position marked by the stitch marker. That completes the first row. On the wrong side of this row, below the circular needle, place a mark on any chain stitch. This makes it convenient to count the rows. The method for knitting the remaining part of the back piece is quite simple. Knit back and forth in even stockinette stitch without increasing or decreasing. End the last row on the right side. There's no need to fasten off the yarn after completing it. My sample is already finished. After completing the back piece, connect it to the left front piece. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific joining method. First, put the previously suspended loops from the left front piece back onto the knitting needle. Insert the needle through the loops from right to left. After completing this step, align the right side of the left front piece with the right side of the back piece. Make sure the wrong sides are facing out, mindful that the pieces do not get twisted. Place the reserved yarn tail on the right-hand side. Align the top loops at this end. Use the slip stitch binding off method to connect the loops of the front and back pieces. Hang the reserved yarn tail with your right hand. Position the right needle underneath the yarn tail. Bring it upwards from below. Insert into the first loop behind. Then insert through the loop on the front needle. Work a purl stitch. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Loosen these 2 loops. The first stitch is now complete. Continue by bringing the right needle upwards from below, inserting it through the corresponding loops of the front and back pieces. Work a purl stitch. Loosen the 2 loops on the needles. The second purl stitch is now complete. After finishing, take the loop on the right needle, specifically the loop on the right side, and place it over the loop on the left side. This completes the process of binding off 1 stitch. Now proceed to bind off the second stitch. First, pick up the corresponding loops from the front and back pieces with the right needle. Work a purl stitch. After completing it, bind off 1 stitch. The second loop is now bound off. Continue binding off in this manner. Bind off all the loops on the front piece. When only 1 loop remains, leave a tail of about 10 centimeters in length. Cut the yarn. Enlarge the loop. Pass the yarn tail through the loop. Gently tighten the reserved yarn tail at the front. This connects the 2 fabric pieces together. Weave in the yarn tail along the texture on the wrong side. Also weave in the previously reserved yarn tail. This is what the connection between the left front piece and the back piece looks like. It's completed on this side. Next, continue knitting the right front piece. After finishing, don't cut the yarn. Connect it to the other side of the back piece. The method is the same. Refer to the previous demonstration and finish them yourself. This is what the connected front and back pieces look like after completion. The remaining loops in the middle of the back piece on the circular needle will be left untreated for now. Up to this point, the method for knitting the chest piece has been fully explained. Next, let's learn how to knit the sleeves. Take a look at the finished product. The left and right sleeves are knitted using the same method. They are divided into 2 parts, the sleeve body and the cuff edge. On one side of the sleeve cap, Pick up stitches along the edges of the front and back pieces to create the sleeve body. Start by knitting the stocking stitch pattern. After completing, increase stitches, then knit the corresponding pattern. Due to the small number of stitches, you will need to use 4 straight needles at the same time for knitting. The new stitch techniques used are right lifted increase and left lifted increase. Please watch as I demonstrate the specific knitting method. I will continue demonstrating with this sample swatch. The color scheme is random. Make a loose knot with the yarn tail. Place the right side of the fabric towards you. Position one of the sleeve caps facing up, either side works. You can see that there is a row of chains on the side like this. Each row of the piece corresponds to 1 chain. First, pick up the holes under the arms between the front and back pieces. Pick these chain spaces. Pull out the knotted loop from the hole. Adjust the loop size slightly. This is the first stitch of the sleeve body. Next, insert the straight needle into the first chain, on the left edge of the fabric piece. Yarn over and draw through. This is the second stitch. Move to the next chain and pick up 1 stitch. Then pick up 4 more loops. The stitch count in my sample is random here. Skip 1 chain next. Then pick up 5 loops. Continue roughly following the pattern of picking up 5 loops for every 6 rows. Work along the edge of the fabric piece picking up stitches. After picking up stitches, you'll reach about 2/3 of the way along this side of the fabric piece. Once done, take another straight needle and continue picking up stitches following the same pattern. After finishing this side of the fabric piece, move on to pick up stitches on the other side of the fabric piece. Pick up stitches until you reach about 1/3 of the way along this side. Once complete, take out the 3rd straight needle. Finish picking up the remaining part of the fabric piece. Up to this point, the picking up of stitches for the sleeve body is now complete. My sample has fewer stitches picked up, but you should refer to the chart for the actual number of stitches to pick up. Next, we'll work on the first round. You can see that these 3 straight needles form a triangle. The yarn tail is at the underarm position. Take out the fourth straight needle. And for the first stitch of round 1, work one left upper cluster together. This is because it's the boundary between two needles. You need to tighten the yarn tail. Otherwise, the finished product won't look as nice. Then, knit one stitch for each stitch on the needle. Complete all the loops on this straight needle. After finishing, you'll reach the boundary. Continue knitting the knit stitches. Pay attention to the junction of the straight needles. The first stitch needs to be tightened. Next, complete all the loops on the straight needle, at the right side of the underarm. Now, everyone, take a look. Now we've reached the underarm position. The first round is complete. Place a mark on the braid below the third straight needle for convenience. This makes it easier to count rounds. For the next 48 rounds of the sleeve body, knit one stitch for each stitch. Remember to tighten the yarn at the boundary of the straight needles. This ensures the fabric piece looks neat and attractive when counting rounds. Start from the chain where the stitch marker is placed. The method is quite simple. Finish them on your own. You need to increase stitches on the 49th round. I'll demonstrate the method for increasing stitches using this small sample. The small sample has fewer rounds. It's just for demonstrating the method. Start by knitting one stitch as a knit stitch. Then do one right lifted increase stitch. Pick up the strand below this stitch. Specifically the yarn on the right side of the braid. Knit it as one stitch. After completing, continue by inserting the hook into this stitch loop. Knit one stitch as a knit stitch. That's how you complete the right lifted increase stitch. Continue knitting with knit stitches. Do this until you reach the last two loops of this round. Now we've reached this position. Work one left lifted increase stitch. Start by knitting one stitch as a knit stitch. Then locate the second braid below this stitch on the straight needle. It's the one underneath the current stitch. On the left needle, pick up the single strand on the left side of the second braid. Knit one stitch as a knit stitch. This is the added stitch. That completes one left lifted increase stitch. Knit one more stitch as a knit stitch. Circle 49 is now complete. For circle 50, continue knitting all stitches as knit stitches. Then, for the remaining part of the sleeve body, work the corresponding pattern. The method is similar to the body section pattern. All required stitch techniques have been demonstrated before. Refer to the previous demonstrations for guidance. Follow the chart to complete the knitting. Next, we will knit the sleeve cuff. Let's take a look at the finished product. First, follow the pattern to knit and decrease stitches accordingly. Then, knit the single rib stitch pattern. Finally, use the single rib stitch bind off method to tighten the ring. The technique is relatively simple. Note that my sample does not include a pattern on the sleeve body. The sleeve cuff has now been completed. Next, I will demonstrate the method for binding off with a single rib stitch. The bind off involves moving the right needle to adjust the position of the yarn tail. This allows you to switch the position of the yarn. Knit the opposite stitch pattern. Start by knitting one purl stitch. Then knit the second stitch as a knit stitch. Use your left hand to pinch the bottom of the loop on the right needle. Slip the stitch off the needle. Bring the needle above the yarn and pass it back through the loop. Knit one more knit stitch. Then use the left needle to pick up the previous stitch and pull it over the next stitch. Slip it off the right needle. This way, you've bound off one stitch. This method of passing one stitch over another is called the slip stitch bind off. Now bind off the second stitch. Knit one purl stitch. Pinch the bottom of the loop. Remove the needle, bring it below the yarn, and pass it back through the loop. Knit one more purl stitch. Use the left needle to pick up the stitch. Pass the previous stitch over the next stitch. Follow this alternating pattern of one knit stitch and one purl stitch. Continue repeating the slip stitch bind off. Pay attention to always move the right needle to adjust the position of the yarn tail. Change the position of the yarn by moving the right needle. When knitting a knit stitch, keep the yarn below. For the knit stitch, the yarn stays below. For the purl stitch, the yarn stays above. When doing a purl stitch, keep the yarn above. Follow this demonstration and keep going until you finish the round. Now there is only one loop left. Simply enlarge the loop. Then slide the needle off. Leave about 10 centimeters of yarn tail, and cut the yarn. Then pass the yarn tail through the loop. And tighten it. Thread the yarn tail into a sewing needle. Insert it from the approximate position on the left side. Pull tight the yarn tail. Pass through a few times to secure it in place. Then follow the texture on the wrong side to secure the yarn tail. Take a look at how the cuff looks after completion. Continue with the same method to knit the other sleeve. Up to this point, the technique for knitting the sleeves has been fully explained. Next, we will work on the front band. Let's take a look at the finished product. Pick up stitches along the edge of the front piece, and the position where the back piece was left off, then knit. Work the single rib stitch pattern back and forth. Remember to leave space for the buttonholes during the process. After completion, use the single rib stitch bind off method to secure the loops. Since the number of stitches is large, 2 sets of circular needles will be needed for knitting. Below, please watch as I demonstrate the specific technique. Let's start by picking up stitches. Make sure the right side of the garment is facing you. Place the right front piece upward. Take 1 set of circular needles. Pick up stitches along the edge of the right front piece. The method is identical to the one used for picking up stitches on the sleeve body. Pick up 5 stitches every 6 rows. Continue picking up stitches along this side edge until you reach the reserved loops of the back piece. Refer to the chart for the exact number of stitches to pick up. Now we've reached this position. Pick up the reserved loops of the back piece, and knit them as stitches. After finishing about half of the loops, Continue knitting the rest of the stitches using the circular needle on the back piece. Finish all remaining loops. Then proceed to pick up stitches along the edge of the left front piece. Pick up the corresponding number of stitches. That completes the stitch pickup. Now start working row 1. We will work this row on the wrong side. Work the opposite stitch pattern as shown in the chart. Turn the fabric over. Begin working with this circular needle. Knit the first stitch as a purl stitch. Work the second stitch as a knit stitch. Continue alternating one purl stitch and one knit stitch downward. After finishing with this circular needle, once it's done, continue with another set of circular needles. Follow the previous pattern instructions and work the single rib stitch pattern. Once you finish this row, row 1 is now complete. For the remaining part of the front band, use the corresponding circular needles and work the single rib stitch back and forth as needed. Pay attention, in the actual fourth row, you need to knit the buttonholes. The stitches used have all been demonstrated before. Everyone can refer to the chart and knit accordingly. After everything is completed, use the single rib stitch bind off method to fasten off all the loops. Look everyone, this is what the sample front band looks like after it's done. After completing the front band, the next step is to sew on the buttons. Cut a piece of the remaining yarn from the garment knitting. Thread the needle. Align the left and right front bands of the garment. On the left front band, sew the buttons at the corresponding buttonhole positions. First, find the matching positions. Then insert the needle from the wrong side of the fabric. Sew on the button. Stitch a few more times to secure it in place. After completing, tie a double knot close to the fabric with both ends of the thread. Weave in the ends separately to hide them. Hide the other yarn tail in the same way. This button is now sewn on. Following the identical method, sew one button at each corresponding buttonhole position. Up to this point, the knit technique for this cardigan has been fully explained. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website, Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next episode.